99 Homes is a film starring Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon, and this hit the festival circuits in 2014. I caught it at the Toronto International Film Festival, which was my second year volunteering then, and I caught this film accidentally because I was ushering the theater that it was in. And it was a funny experience because I caught the amazing opening of the film and can barely do my job because I was so focused, hyper focused on everything that was going on screen. Because the first like 10 to 15 minutes of this film is ridiculously emotional and anxiety driven and engaging, and it was insane. Like, I had to like watch people with flashlights, but I just had my eyes glued to the screen the whole time. And then I had to leave, and it sucked. But then I got to get back into the film, and I got to catch the last 10 minutes of the film, which was also like the climax part, and was just intense and just as insane. So I got the gist of the movie. I just missed basically the middle half. And I said, what the hell is this? I gotta keep this in mind. 99 Homes, I gotta look up this director. This director also, he's Iranian American. He directed a film called Man Push Cart, which is an award-winning kind of indie film as well. This film called Chop Shop, which I'll probably check out sometime as well. And then this, and he directed some other stuff too, but that's kind of like his big things, like most recognized kind of thing. And yeah, this film is hella intense. I mean, it says on the front cover, packs a mighty punch, and that's an understatement because this film is like, it's deep and it hits hard. Like, it hits the soul and it hits your heart, and it's very human. And it's one of those films that it's like, what would I do in this situation? How would I feel? Could I do this? Could I ruin people's lives to get big? Could I destroy families if it made me money, if it helped my family, kind of thing? It's one of those. It's one of those films that asks a lot of questions. And Andrew Garfield kills it in an Oscar-worthy performance. I mean, I don't think he was nominated for anything. Michael Shannon was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. But Andrew Garfield definitely steals the show in this film. Michael Shannon is always good, and Michael Shannon... I watched this video on YouTube of him in the Criterion Closet, and he's a very strange man. He seems very awkward. He seems like one of those actors that definitely throws himself into a role, but like in real life is probably like very timid and very quirky and very awkward. He seems like one of those, but in this one, he's like balls to the wall intense. Like, you would like sweat just standing in a room with this guy. The character that he plays, his name is Richard Carver. Andrew Garfield plays a guy named Dennis, and Dennis has a son, and he lives with it's his mother, himself, and his little boy in the same home. The mother works from home, and the little guy's like, I don't know, 10 maybe, and they're kind of middle class, like low to average kind of thing. And they're struggling with their home. A lot of people are struggling with their homes in this film. The economy is absolute shit. Dennis, played by Andrew Garfield, is at work. He's works construction. And a guy comes up to him and says, like, hey, cut it. Like, put your stuff down. We're done. We're done with this project. The last 3 weeks you were working, completely free. We're not getting paid. Nothing. Zero. So the whole project that they're like a quarter into, that they've been working their ass off full time on, they're not getting paid for any of it. It's shit like that just keeps happening to this guy, and he's looking for work and stuff like that. He's in court to fight for his home because apparently they're missing payments and stuff like that. And then Michael Shannon comes in. His name is Richard Carver. Like I said, he works for Richard Carver Realty or whatever kind. He's a real estate agent, but he's a con artist at the same time, kind of thing. And he plays the system, and this film is about the system being played and manipulated, and everything being done legally with loopholes and papers and documents and official things that this Richard Carver is very knowledgeable about, and he knows the legalities between everything when it comes to real estate, and he basically hunts down people in basically poverty or people that are struggling, and he finds reasons, essentially. It's deeper than that. The film is very deep, and it's very complicated with like the loopholes and stuff like that. I don't even understand it because I'm not like in depth with the terms and everything. But essentially, he finds ways to kick people out of homes and restate them to the bank, and then get rich because of it. So he evicts people, and then he makes a shit ton of money for doing so. So he comes over to evict Andrew Garfield's character Dennis and his mother, played by oh, let's not blank on Laura Dern. Laura Dern, Jurassic Park. Laura Dern. Everybody knows Laura Dern. Look her up. She's Grant's love interest in Jurassic Park, blonde Laura Dern. And the kid, and they get evicted, and it's a really emotional scene. I mean, it's directed beautifully. This film is shot magnificently. It's an indie film, and I'm like I say all the time, like, go check out your indie films because they are the most heart-driven. And this whole eviction situation is written beautifully. It's acted tremendously. The music is intense. You know, Michael Shannon is with the cops and everything, and the cops are like making their way into the house, and everybody is panicking and in anxiety mode, and they're trying to keep calm, but at the same time they're angry and confused and everything because they were dealing with the courts and nothing seems to make sense. And just the day before they were at court, and the judge said they had 30 days to file something, and they had 30 days to make an appeal or something like that, but then they're getting evicted the next day and nothing's making sense. So everything is nuts, and it's just, there's a lot of one-shots kind of thing, and you know, like the police officer is watching the mother like pack up her stuff, and Andrew Garfield's like, does he have to stand there with her while she's packing her fucking underwear? Is that right? And just, oh, such good acting. Like, such good acting. Like, if you've seen this film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that whole opening scene and a little bit more is what I got to watch at the festival when I was there. But, you know, like, and then the little kid comes home from school on the school bus while this is happening, and the father's trying to calm him down, and the kid wants to go back to his room, but he can't, and it's, you know, all the stuff is being left on the lawn, and everything is free reign for all the neighbors, and they only have 24 hours before everything else just gets collected and basically disposed of, and they have to resort to whatever they have to resort to. They go to like a motel to stay temporarily at the motel, and it's just really, really, really awful stuff to see this go on. And at the motel, like, there's a lot of other families there too, because this eviction stuff is happening to a bunch of people, and Richard Carver is basically the hellhound when it comes to doing all this, and he's basically a soulless character. He's the type of guy that doesn't mind trampling over whoever he needs to trample over to make millions, and it's a moral story. Like, do you have the heart to play the system and ruin people's lives, like a lot of good people's lives, to make it good for yourself, to live well yourself? Could you do it? Not a lot of people could. I mean, you know, there's always that saying, like, it's just business, or you know, the law is the law. Yeah, the law is the law, and that's what Richard Carver basically prides himself in. He's like, the law is the law. You know, with loans and stuff like that, you don't pay him back, you're technically stealing yourself. So I can't say I'm stealing. I can't say when I evict somebody from their home and take the money for myself, I can't say it's stealing because it's the law. But he's, you know, he's just cynical, soulless bastard, like some exist in the world. There's a guy who Dennis, played by Andrew Garfield, gets into a fight with because he while this guy was moving stuff out of the house, he stole a bunch of his tools, and he works construction. He stole like $500 worth of tools, and he gets into a confrontation at the motel with this guy, and that gets intense. And every confrontation in this film is very intense because it's kind of stretched out, and it's really detailed. Like, it's one of those where there's like small events going on, like the conflicts are small, but it's filmed in a way that it stretches it out and really gets in depth with a small situation. Small situation, I mean, like, not a whole, it's not a dense problematic thing. It's like, you stole my tools, give them back, and it's like, I didn't steal your tools, fuck you. And that goes like, it's just such a well directed argument kind of thing, and they do that a lot in this film. I like that. So what happens is, he comes across Michael Shannon's character again, Dennis, I mean, and Richard basically gives him an opportunity to take him under his wing, essentially, and teach Dennis the tricks of the trade, essentially. And it starts off where Dennis is basically desperate for money. So Michael Shannon is at the motel. He gets a call. Apparently somebody who owned a house knew that they were going to be getting evicted, so they just let the entire plumbing go and just let shit spray everywhere and then booked it, which is probably something I would do. But Michael Shannon's like, fuck, we got to take care of this situation now. And he's like, Dennis, I'll pay you $50 to come clean this house up. And he's like, $50? Like, really? He's like, $50 shouldn't be a joke to you, son. And then he just gets in his car and takes off like a soulless bastard. And he's like, you gonna look me in the eye? And then Dennis gets in the car and like follows him. He's like, fuck. He's like, 50's better than 0. So he gets to this house and it's just disgusting. And this house is like just filthy with like sewage just all over the place. It's horrendous. He negotiates himself up to more, so he gets like 250 or something, which is enough to feed his family, like his mom and son, for like the week or whatever. And then he starts to get more jobs with Michael Shannon's character, but they're always like low end. And Michael Shannon's character, I like to say the actors' names just like so people know who I'm talking about. Michael Shannon plays Richard, and Andrew Garfield plays Dennis, but I'll go back and forth sometimes. Gives him like shit jobs because he's taking advantage of him clearly, and he knows that, you know, Richard doesn't give a fuck about anybody, let alone some guy he just kicked out of a house. So, but he starts to take a liking for him, and Andrew Garfield's character Dennis starts to get bigger and bigger, and eventually he takes on the role of real estate himself, and he starts to learn these loopholes with Richard, and he starts to work alongside Richard until he is the one evicting people out of their own homes, and he like does the same job and makes a ton of cash and learns how to do it legally. I say legally in quotes because this whole thing is like cheating essentially, but by law, you know, there's nothing they're doing wrong per se. They're just being really big dickheads and assholes, and they are doing wrong. I mean, they are cheating. Cheating is wrong, but they're cheating with knowledge, I guess, is a way you can put it. Or, you know, playing the government, playing the bank system, especially to be able to get away with doing what they're doing, like documents and stuff like that, missing documents, or like, oh, here's a document that just appeared kind of thing. That kind of bullshit. So, like Michael Shannon always says in the film, the law is the law. But Andrew Garfield's character, Dennis, is doing this, but he's keeping it from his kid and his mom for sure. And they're still at the motel. He has this hope to buy the house back that they lost, and he wants to go back to his family home, and he wants to bring his mom and kid back to their family home, and that's his job. Like, all the money that he's making, he's willing to give to Richard and be like, I'll buy the house again, I'll buy it. Like, they even make a deal. Richard says, listen, if you want the house bad enough, I'll buy the house. You'll just have to wait about a month, and then I'll like sell it back to you, so you can pay like 12% mortgage or however that works. I'll loan the house, you buy it from me again, slowly. Of course, he's like, that kind of deal, like that's the best you can give me. And again, he's like, oh, well, you know, it's my house, I mean, I could do what I want kind of thing. So he's a snake, and he takes full advantage of Andrew Garfield. But what can you do when you're desperate, right? Desperate times call for desperate measures. It's just sad situations like that. And like the mom, played by Laura Dern, like I said, and the kid is just such a sweet kid, and he's so confused in this whole situation. The kid does a really good job at playing like confused and lost, like he has no idea what's going on. He's a kid, but he's just trying to trust his dad, and his dad is so sweet to him, and like he's trying to make him comfortable and feel okay, like everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. There's a scene where Richard is talking to Dennis, and I love this. And he's talking about, like, you know, the world's built by winners kind of thing. He says, "You go to church, Dennis? You go to church? Only 1 out of 100 people are going to make it onto that ark. You understand that, right? The other 99 poor souls are going to drown. I ain't going to drown, Dennis. I ain't going to drown." And that's his morals. He's he's like that. He will not give a shit about what he has to do to serve himself, kind of thing. There's a scene where Andrew Garfield is starting to evict people slowly, and it kind of shows a montage of people he's kicking out. One is this, like, really old man who literally has no one to go to. His son lives in Michigan, and this film all takes place in Florida, and they have to leave this old man on the grass with absolutely nowhere to go, and the cops like he has nowhere to go. He's like, "I can call you Red Cross," or something like that, but it's just horrendous. And Andrew Garfield has a soul. He's feeling terrible about this, but he's like in limbo. He's kind of on the fence with it. He likes the money, and he loves where he is, and he really, really wants to provide for his family, but he's feeling like absolute garbage having to do all this, bullshit when it comes to kicking all these innocent people out of their homes. It's insane. I don't want to go too long in this video, so basically it gets to a point where there's a guy named Frank Green, and Frank Green knows Dennis because both of their sons go to school together. So Frank Green is in the same situation. He's, stealing power from the house next to him, stealing water from the house next to him, and he's in Andrew Garfield's boat. He's in the same situation. Eventually he's going to be kicked out as well, and he ends up being at the end of the movie, and Andrew Garfield has to go take care of it. But this Frank Green guy he's like I am, basically. He studied the fuck out of everything, and he studied the laws, and he knows his rights, and has binders of paperwork and shit like that, and he knows his shit, and he knows exactly how the law works. So he's at war with Richard, and he's not going to lose his home by any means necessary. And he's in court fighting it all the time. And at the end of the movie, Richard forges a document saying that, because Frank Green is going to win in court, and Richard is trying to stop that from happening, so he forges a paper, and Dennis, played by Andrew Garfield, is like, "You forged this? This is wrong now. This is fraud." And he's like, it's a paper that got lost, whatever, kind of thing. So, of course, Frank Green loses his home, and at the end of the movie, Andrew Garfield has to go evict Frank, and the cops are there, just like the beginning of the movie, except Frank Green is not standing down. He's there at the window, and as soon as a cop walks to the door, he breaks that glass, and he has that rifle, and he's saying, "You step on my property, I don't want to do this, but I will shoot anybody I have to." And, in the United States of America, you have the right to defend yourself, and I do stand for the Second Amendment, absolutely. But he's ready to go, and he's ready to not back down. And again, it's just like the beginning of the film. The speeches that he gives, he's like, "Just look at the sun shining, okay? Just look at the sky. Nobody can tell me that it is night when it is day. God can come down here and tell me that it is night, and I will still believe that it is day because I can see the sun shining, and I know what I know, and I know that this home is mine, and I know everything that I know because he's been to, like, libraries and all over the internet, and he knows exactly what he's saying. So he is not backing down, and his family is behind him. He's in the house, like, with the rifle, and his family's behind him. And there's this one scene where I think his kid, like, shouts or, like, "Dad," or something like that, and he turns around startled, and he shoots a bullet, and it just misses his kid. No, it's not funny. I'm just, like, saying it's so intense. Like, you're in the theater, like, holy shit, what is gonna happen? Like, this is so brutal. And it just, it's anxiety driven, and this is where Andrew Garfield just says enough is enough, and he says, "Listen, I forged the paper. The paper's forged. You're right. This house is home. We cheated you all along." He says, "Fuck Michael Shannon. Fuck this. My life may be ruined. I might have to look over my shoulder because of Richard Carver following me for life, and I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to go back to poverty. I'm probably going to be homeless still, and I'm probably going to be watched by Michael Shannon's character, Richard Carver, my entire fucking life, but fuck it. This is your home. You're completely in the right as an American citizen and a grown man with a family. I'm done. I'm done. And it's way more emotional than I described it there with the acting. Like I said, Andrew Garfield just kills it with his performance. And this film needs to be watched by more people. I love independent cinema. I love film festivals because it's just too bad that films like this people don't know about. It's like they're made and they're not. Indie film doesn't mean like cheap film. It doesn't mean B film. It doesn't mean second level film. This is just as good of a film as like what's another phenomenal drama? I don't know. I can't think off of one off the top of my head. I'm surrounded by films and I can't think of like Drive. Drive is a good. It's different movie, but let's say Drive. More people know Drive than this one, and even still, not a lot of people know Drive. Andrew Garfield. Everybody knows Spider-Man. Everybody knows Spider-Man. Everybody knows Andrew Garfield played Spider-Man. Nobody knows Andrew Garfield did a kick-ass performance in 99 Homes that skyrockets his performance in Spider-Man. So, I mean, thank God for film festivals, and if you're a film fan, just dive deeper. You know, dive deeper, because there's beautiful gems like this that just don't get talked about. And Michael Shannon too. Michael Shannon can never do wrong in any performance he does because he just owns every movie he's in. And like Garfield's the star in this, and it's really hard to say which one is better than the other. But it's just so good. I mean, it's killer performances. Laura Dern too. Like she's a side character, but she does really well. Her emotions, the way she feels about what her son is doing when she figures it out. There's a scene at the motel where a guy, again, Andrew Garfield, kicked out of his home, shows up at the motel, and Andrew Garfield is trying to like hide under his hat, and this guy's like, hey, I know you, I recognize you. Andrew's like, you don't know me, man, you don't know me at all. And he's trying to cover his face and stuff, and this guy's not having it. He's like, I know you, I'm going to be watching you in this place, I know exactly who you are, I know exactly who you're working for. And again, that just puts off another like intense ass scene. It's another one of those situations where there's a lot of spoilers in this review, but if you've seen this film already, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen this film, go watch it. These are the kind of reviews that, like, I don't know, even with everything I've said about it, it's still, you go watch it even though I said a lot that happens, because there's way more. I can make reviews for 2 hours if I want. I could sit here literally discussing a movie for like 2 hours. I could discuss a film for longer than the movie is if I wanted to. But, you know, who's gonna want who's gonna want to listen to me talk about one film for fucking 2 hours? Yeah, Ramin Bahrani did like unbelievable with this film, and I'm glad I found it accidentally at Toronto Film Festival, and it was just one of those experiences where I'm like, I was just mesmerized at the screen, and I'm like, what is this movie? Where can I find it? And where can I find more like it? And I already started my journey into loving cinema at that point, but it just made me want to continue even further. Like, you know, it's really good to dive deep. If you really like movies, just dive deep and find more, and find the hidden gems that nobody ever talks about, because I can guarantee you, usually they're the best. Usually they're the best than everything else that is widespread in theaters. So I'm not going to keep rambling on too much more. Just go watch 99 Homes, starring Michael Shannon and Andrew Garfield. Like I said, really, really good stuff. And very underrated, and very, very, very powerful, and it'll hit you in the feels, like, bad, real bad, real bad. You'll have a lump in your throat if you're semi-human. So, subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.